Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Queen Elizabeth, A Day in Her Life. It's time for the royal news. So let us see what's been happening around the date of May 15th, 2025. The first story comes from ABC Australian News, May the 10th, 2025. Prince Harry, King Charles, and the Grief Dilemma Tearing Apart the British Royal Family. This story is by Emily Clark and Rebecca Armitage. Just days before a huge military procession that was due to march through London, the British royal family released a cryptic message that seemed to be directed at one of their own. Buckingham Palace told British media outlets that King Charles III hoped nothing will detract or distract from ceremonies to mark the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II in Europe. It was an odd message for the palace to seed into the British press, who would intend to overshadow events to mark the day Nazi Germany surrendered to the Allied forces. But the veiled warning came just days after Charles' second-born son, Prince Harry, declared a war of his own against his father. "If anything was to happen to me, my wife, or my father's grandchildren, if anything was to happen to them, look where the responsibility lies," Harry said in an explosive interview with BBC. After stepping back as a senior working royal in 2020, Harry and his wife Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, were stripped of their state-funded protection. Since then, Harry's been battling the courts, the palace, and most crucially his father, for his security detail to be reinstated when he's in the UK. But the battle over police protection is not just about safety or logistics. It's not even about power, jealousy, and rivalries within the House of Windsor. At its core, this is a family still reckoning with the fallout of the tragic death of Princess Diana. Despite the crowns, the fame, and the privilege that can come with being the Windsors, they are locked in a dispute that can happen when a family has endured such a devastating loss. I think nearly every decision and utterance that Harry makes is driven by his grief over his mother, Giselle Baston, a royal commentator from Flinders University, said. And his drive and motivation in everything he does is his belief that he has to avenge his mother's grievances with the royal establishment and with Charles in particular. Harry was just 12 years old when he learned members of his family could be pursued to their death, but as he's repeatedly asked for protection, his sole surviving parent has told him he can't get involved. Now the family is split, oceans apart, still swimming in the unrelenting sea of grief. When Harry and Meghan moved to the U.S. in 2020, they insisted that they were no longer working royals. The threat to their lives remained the same. When Harry and Meghan moved to the U.S. in 2020, they insisted that while they were no longer working royals, the threat to their lives remained the same. Harry, a British military veteran, has been the target of an assassination plot by al-Qaeda, while Meghan was vilified by the right-wing extremists because she is a black woman. "My status hasn't changed," Harry told the BBC. "I can't change. I am who I am. I'm part of what I'm part of, and I can't escape that. My circumstances will always be the same." Harry's grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, appears to have agreed that they were vulnerable. Soon after they left the UK, her aide wrote a letter to the Parliament on her behalf, stating that due to a well-documented history of targeting the Sussex family by extremists, it's imperative that the family continues to be provided with effective security. After a closed court session in London, Prince Harry declared that his worst fears about his security situation have been confirmed, and while he won't discuss details, his relationship with King Charles has hit its lowest point. Just 3 months later, the UK Protection of Royalty and Public Figures Committee stripped Harry of his protection anyway. "I have had it described to me, once people knew about the facts, that this is a good old-fashioned establishment stitch-up, and that's what it feels like," he told the BBC. Past 5 years battling RAVEC's decision to the courts, claiming that forces within the palace withdrew his protection as a means of dragging him back home. Harry says under current arrangements, he can only return to the UK if he gives the RAVEC 30 days' notice. And if he makes private security arrangements, his guards are legally banned from carrying guns, a restriction he says makes it impossible to bring his wife and children to the UK. "I love my country, I've always done, despite what some people in the country have done," he told the BBC. "I think that it's really quite sad that I won't be able to show my children my homeland." After his last legal appeal was rejected, Harry has exhausted his legal options. The second story comes from the Express, and it's dated May the 14th, 2025. Prince William reveals Princess Charlotte's unknown new passion. And this is by Lauren O'Toole, news reporter, dated May the 14th. Prince William, 42, has given royal fans a glimpse into his family life by lifting the lid on Princess Charlotte, who's 10, and her new passion, and it's something she shares in common with her mom. Charlotte appears to have found a role model in the form of the British 800m gold medal holder Keely Hodgkinson. The Prince of Wales hinted Charlotte was interested in the sport. He met the middle distance runner as he honored guests at Windsor Castle yesterday. William told Keely how Charlotte, a keen runner, watched her win gold at the Paris Olympics last year, and he wished he could have been there in person. The Olympic hero was named in the New Year's honors list after winning gold. Keely said that the prince told me his daughter is doing the 400 meters and the hurdles, and she did watch me in Paris. He told me that he remembers me winning and wished to be there to see it himself. At the event, Keely, who also won Sports Personality of the Year 2024, was seen laughing alongside the Prince of Wales as she received the honor. The young runner added, "It was really nice to be honored by Prince William, and the whole experience has been amazing." Charlotte's love for the sport should come as no surprise, as Princess Kate, 42, is one of the royal family's sportiest members and is a lover of running. The third story comes from the Mirror, and it's dated May 15th, 2025. Fergie says the late Queen still speaks to her as she gives emotional Corgi update. And this story is by Jennifer Newton, Deputy Royal Editor, dated May the 15th, 2025. Fergie claims that the late Queen still speaks to her by sending messages through her beloved corgis. The Duchess of York took in the former monarch's surviving dogs, Sandy and Muick, when Elizabeth II died almost 3 years ago, joining her 5 other Norfolk Terriers. Now Sarah, along with her ex-husband and Prince Andrew, cares for the dogs at their Royal Lodge home in Windsor. And in a new interview, Fergie says she is sure that when the dogs bark, it's actually her late mother-in-law reminding her that she is still there. Speaking at the Creative Women's Plant Forum in London, she revealed, smiling, "I have her dogs, I have her corgis. Every morning they come in and go woof woof and all that, and I'm sure it's her talking to me. I'm sure it's her, reminding me she's still around. Anyway, the real thing is that I had the greatest honor to be her daughter-in-law. That's pretty huge. And when I was driving here, I saw the Elizabeth line on the tube, and I said, I want everyone to remember what an amazing lady she was." Sandy and Muick were a gift to the Queen by Sarah and her ex-husband, Prince Andrew, and their daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. Andrew and his family presented the late Queen with 2 puppies during lockdown to keep her entertained at Windsor while her husband, the late Prince Philip, was in the hospital. The fourth story comes from the Telegraph, dated May the 9th, 2025. King congratulates Pope Leo in a private message. This story is by Victoria Ward. The King has sent his private message to Pope Leo XIV, congratulating him on his election, Buckingham Palace has said. His Majesty sent his most sincere good wishes on behalf of both himself and the Queen. Pope Leo XIV, formerly known as Robert Prevost, was elected on Thursday as the 267th Pontiff and the Bishop of Rome. The King is deeply religious and takes his title as a defender of the faith and Supreme Governor of the Church of England extremely seriously. He also holds a deep interest in other faiths and has made interfaith dialogue one of the cornerstones of his work, using speeches to plead for coexistence and understanding. There's a special moment. The King and Queen were invited at relatively short notice for a private audience with the late Pope Francis last month, shortly before his death. The 20-minute visit, which took place during the couple's state visit to Italy, was described by Buckingham Palace as a special moment. It was later hailed as the couple's personal highlights of their 4-day state visit. They were particularly touched by the late Pope's warm words of congratulations on their 20th wedding anniversary. Following Pope Francis' death on Easter Sunday, the King described how both he and his wife were greatly moved to have been able to visit the Pontiff in his final weeks, a private moment that will now take on particular resonance. And the last story comes from The Telegraph, dated May 14th, 2025. Prince Harry's popularity sinks after BBC interview attacking King. And this story is by Victoria Ward, and it's dated May the 14th, 2025. The Duke of Sussex's popularity in the UK has plunged after a BBC interview in which he claimed the King refused to speak to him. A new YouGov poll revealed Prince Harry's favorability rating has dropped to 27%, its lowest for more than 2 years. The Duchess of Sussex has also seen her popularity drop to 20%, its lowest since YouGov began tracking it in 2017, the year before she married into the royal family. Prince and Princess of Wales remain the UK's favorite royals, with 75% of the 2,220 adults surveyed reporting a positive opinion of Prince William and 72% of his wife. The latest survey was undertaken from May the 6th through the 7th, days after the Duke gave a lengthy interview to the BBC following defeat in his legal battle with the government over his security arrangements. He insisted he wanted to reconcile with his family, but admitted that his father would not speak to him and that he did not know how much longer the King had to live. The Duke described the long-running legal battle during which he argued that he had been singled out for unjustified and inferior treatment when he was denied the right to automatic police protection as a good old-fashioned establishment stitch-up. He claimed that there was a lot of control and ability in his father's hands, adding ultimately this whole thing could be resolved through him, not necessarily by intervening, but by stepping aside and allowing the experts to do what is necessary. The Duke was once one of the most popular members of the royal family, boasting an 80% approval rating in 2011, but public support fell away after he moved abroad in a blaze of acrimony. The slew of revelations and allegations made about his family, from the March 2021 Oprah Winfrey interview to the release of his memoir Spare in January 2023, have seen his ratings plunge further. They reached their lowest 24% days after the memoir was published. The Duchess's highest approval rating of 55% came in October 2019, shortly after a tour of southern Africa, but since then her popularity has ebbed away. Meanwhile, more than 6 in 10 Britons have a positive view of the King, representing a slight drop since February. Whereas younger people tend to skew slightly more in the favor of the Sussexes, older generations report a more favorable view of the King. The Duke may take comfort from the fact that he's more popular in the U.S., the country he now calls home, than the UK. However, a YouGov poll published earlier this week found that he was less popular among Americans than his elder brother, Prince William. 56% said they had a very or fairly positive view of Prince Harry, and 21% a fairly or very negative opinion. 63% gave Prince William a positive rating, and a 10% a negative one. Americans also reported a more favorable view of the Princess of Wales, 49% positive, and the King, 48% positive, than of the Duchess, 41% positive. The royals with the worst image in America were the Queen and Prince Andrew, while by far the most popular royals in the United States remained the late Diana, Princess of Wales, and Elizabeth II. So I will end the video here. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so, it would help the channel to grow, as well as giving it a thumbs up. It's all a great help. And if you haven't clicked on the notification bell, if you could do that, it lets you know when a video is posted. I wish everyone a good day, and tune in again soon for Queen Elizabeth, A Day in Her Life, the Royal News. Thank you. Bye.